If you're looking for an amazing way to work out in VR, look no further. Thrill of the Fight is genuinely one of the most physically demanding VR games there is out there, especially for me. So let's dive into it. So I first ran into Thrill of the Fight whenever I played the Creed boxing game. I had just got the Quest 2, and I had downloaded a bunch of demos for different games, and I was always into boxing and UFC. That's something me and my dad always enjoyed. And I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. Me and my dad had both the exact same complaints. I hate the limited stamina. I hate that you have to hold your hands up and regain stamina in a VR game, because you're actually throwing the punches. So it doesn't really make sense to me that they would put stamina for the character when I'm using my real stamina in real life. So obviously covering up's a smart idea if you're in a fight, but if you have the stamina to fight without needing any breaks and you can just constantly throw punches, you should have that option. You know, it shouldn't be limited by a stamina factor because you're really throwing the punches. You're using your real life stamina. So if you've got it in you, let me use my stamina, brother. So that's where Thrill of the Fight came in. I seen it was only $9.99, and I was saying to myself, I was like, it can't be worse than Creed, and it's a quarter of the price. So let's give it a shot. With no time on the game, I jumped into it and fell in love, dude. I'm a really big UFC fan, really big boxing fan, and it was amazing to experience what it's like to be in a ring and spar, train on a dummy, be able to hit the heavy bag, all the different experiences. And even if it was in VR, I got to try out things that I've always wanted to replicate from the UFC fights that I've seen. I've got to replicate all the training that I've seen from videos. Unfortunately, there's no kicking, and I ain't got leg tracking, so if there was, I wouldn't have that option. That's something I would love for them to make into a VR game, is some type of actual mixed martial arts where you could, you know, do whatever. This is one of the best feeling games on VR, period. You feel extremely, like, connected to your own body, you know. I tend to get lost in this, like, in the world of this game really easily. I get into the fight and just, like, daydream. This is one of those games where it just makes you feel like you're a badass. Like, I love games that distract me as much as possible from reality, and this game just does that for me. Sometimes I don't feel comfortable in my own skin, and it just feels like it takes me away from all of that. It takes me from who I am into another world. I feel like I'm in some wonderland where I'm a professional fighter, and I truly have to win this fight. Like, this is everything. It's a really good distraction from the world. It's a really good workout, and it'll definitely humble you too. Some of these guys move extremely wild, especially the later you progress into these fights. So you really learn, like, oh, well, my stamina only lasts this long. Oh, well, I can only, like, stand there and bang for, like, 3 minutes, and then I'm winded. You know, you kind of understand your physical capabilities if it actually come to you, like, you really needing to know how to box or etc. You're like, okay, I got 3 minutes in me, and after that, I'm wore. When you're swinging full speed, it can be really hard for the Quest 2 and the Quest 3 to track that fast of a movement. So sometimes your punches would have landed in real life, but it just doesn't, and they don't have any power to them. Like, it's just like throwing like a real light jab, but you were throwing like an overhand or a hook. Come on, bro. Or again, your gloves will go really wide out, like they won't actually connect with a person at all, but your controller would have been in the exact same place where you would have connected with that punch. And that's like one of the main issues that I kind of dealt with, but that's not really the game's fault. It's more of just the trackers on an Oculus or really any VR. I feel like that would be any VR's case when you're moving that fast. Another sucky thing is when a fighter pushes up against you, like really close. In real life, you could definitely kind of trade shots up close, especially me being a shorter guy. That's kind of my fighting style, is being up and under somebody. But you kind of just phase through each other, so you can't really do that. You have to do a lot more range fighting and stuff like that. And honestly, it's not my style as a short king. I wish they had like UFC style gloves, because I'm more of a UFC fan than I am boxing, but it's a boxing game, so I don't really expect that. It'd be a cool addition if it's not already in the game. I didn't check. One of my biggest complaints, but it really isn't anyone's fault, is how the fighters fight. You can kind of cheese them with combos of jabs and hooks. Usually if you jab, they cover up facing forward, so they put their forearms in front of their face. Then you can kind of curve a hook around their forearm and hit them on the side of the head, and then they just drop like a sack of potatoes. They kind of all have that pattern until you get later on into the more experienced, like, professional fights. And I also, like, I understand it's really something you could do in real life, but I wish there was just a little more arm movement by them. Instead of them ducking their heads so much in weird ways, I feel like if they just added where the arms move just a little bit more, it could really go a long way. Like, one of my favorite things is the earlier fights where it's like, okay, Ugly Joe is a really heavy hitter, but he's not fast. He doesn't throw a very high volume of punches. The next guy, I can't remember his name, he's a real fast hitting guy, but he has a glass chin. So if you can sneak in a punch and trade with him, he'll just fall over. So if you knock him down 3 times, obviously the fight's over. So yeah, that's just one of the things I love, and it kind of goes away in the later fights. They all kind of just become the same fighter. They're all like I know the really tall black guy, don't know his name in the game. He's more of like your heavy hitter, but he also swings really fast, but he doesn't move around a lot. So you can trade shots with him as long as you know how to dodge, and you can dodge and throw hits, you'll beat him immediately. I wasn't expecting like 45 fighters with actual like boxers and MMA fighters mixed in, but I would like to see them add more fights. There's only like 10 fights in the game, and after you beat the last one, it's like, okay, there's really no point to play this anymore other than just to work out on the occasion. I would have liked to see a little more fights, a little more progression, you know, and see them more gradually change instead of, again, like I just said earlier, like instead of them going from having fighting styles with this gym all being the same thing of they're like the GOAT. I think there should be more different variants. Like, okay, I liked like the ugly Joe and then the other guy where they're like 2 different fighting styles. I think that should have just been the way all the way to the end. All in all, I think this game is fantastic. I think they did a fantastic job, and for $9.99 especially, like, that's amazing. If you want to play a game to live out your daydreams of being a fighter and to work out the gift that God gave everybody, it's a must. It's such an experience that I've always wanted to live out in VR, and it's just my dream. So it's something that, like, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you buy this game, let me know your opinions on it. If you play the game a lot, if you don't. And if you think there would be any good additions, let me know. This is kind of my whole thing now. I went from making funny moments to like opinions on games and stuff like that, so I want to hear your guys' opinion. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Right to the middle. Shit. Holy fuck. This guy's rough. I think I just broke my controller.